Our first example here gives us a triangle where we know two sides and the included angle, the angle that's formed by those two sides, and it asks us to find the third side. So this is what we would call the side angle side scenario. Side angle side, because again we know two sides and the angle that's between them. When we have the side angle side scenario, when we want to find something that's missing, specifically a third side, what we can do is we can use the law of cosines. So let me just write out real quick what the law of cosines says. It says that a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times bc times the cosine of angle A. And remember, this is only one of 3 versions of the law of cosines, but the other 2 versions just rearrange the parts. I always just remember this one version, and then I adjust my thinking about the picture to fit in this version. So again, I'm looking for this missing side. So I'm going to call that missing side A. I'm going to put a little A down here. And then the other 2 sides will be B and C. And then the angle that's across from my missing side, I'm going to think of as angle A. And so now all I have to do is put the numbers for my picture in where they belong on this right side of my law of cosines. So let's look at how that's going to shape up. It's going to say that a squared equals 20 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 20 times 14 times the cosine of 39. And at this point here, you can really, if you're careful, you can type all of this in your calculator all at once. I'm going to take it kind of step by step just to show you what it would look like. So I'm going to have now a squared equals 400, that's 20 squared, plus 196, that's 14 squared, minus, let's see, that'll be 2 times 20 times 14, so that's 40 times 14. That's going to be 560, so minus 560 cosine 39. So I'll clean it up a step further. I'll have 596 minus 560 cosine 39. And this is the point at which you probably just go ahead and grab your calculator. So I'll type in 596 minus 560 cosine 39. And I get a squared to be about, because I'm going to round this, 160.80. I just went ahead and rounded to 2 decimal places in this instant. Now I know that the next thing I need to do is square root this side, so I'll just hit the square root button of my last answer on my calculator. And I'm going to get a value for A. A is equal to about 12.7. So that's my answer. A is about 12.7. Now here in our second problem, we can see the difference is, well, first of all, we're starting with different information. We're starting with all 3 side lengths. So we know this is the side, side, side case. And what we can use the side, side, side case in combination with the law of cosines is we can find an angle measure. In this case, we're going to find angle B. Okay? So with this triangle already being labeled as A, B, and C, it might be easier to kind of rewrite the version of the law of cosines that involves angle B in it. And so the version of the law of cosines that has angle B in it says that b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac times the cosine of angle B. So you can see I use this version. Since I'm looking for the version that has angle B in it, because that's what I'm supposed to find, it starts with the side across from B all by itself, b squared. And then these 4 spots here, 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 and here are just the other 2 sides, A and C. And then the angle is, of course, angle B. So now I'm going to fill in my information. I'll just label what's what. That's going to be B, that's going to be A, that's going to be C. And of course we have our missing angle up here. So I'll have 16 squared equals 14 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 14 times 20 times the cosine of B. And so now the next thing I want to do is just kind of clean up what I have here. So I'll do this more or less step by step. I'm going to have 256 for 16 squared equals 196 plus 400 minus 560 times the cosine of b. And so now my focus shifts to trying to isolate this. Think of this like think of cosine of b like it was its own variable. Let's try and isolate this part, cosine b. So we need to move all these other things to the other side. First, I'm going to combine some like terms here. I have 596 minus 560 times cosine b. And the next thing I'm going to do is subtract 596 from both sides. So 256 minus 596 is going to give me negative 340 equals negative 560 cosine b. Don't forget that this minus sign right here is going to turn into a negative sign once I get rid of this 596. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 560. Again, the purpose here is I'm trying to get this cosine b by itself. And so that's going to be, let's see, 340 divided by 560. I know the negatives are going to cancel out. I'll have about 0.6071 is the approximate value of the cosine of angle b. So now I ask my calculator what angle has this cosine value. And you remember the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to say that the cosine inverse of 0.6071 is my approximate measure of angle b. And then I type in cosine inverse of 0.6071, and I get a value of about 52.6 degrees. So that's my angle b rounded to the nearest tenth. Finally, we have one more example problem that asks us to find the diagonal of this parallelogram. And really this is just, again, we have a parallelogram here, but if we just concentrate on half of that parallelogram with its diagonal drawn in, we can see that we actually have a triangle, and we know two sides and the included angle for that triangle. So we should be able to use law of cosines to find this third side of this triangle, which again is the diagonal of the actual parallelogram in the picture. So I'm going to, again, write out my law of cosines. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of angle A. And then I'll kind of label what I have in my picture as it's going to fit into my law of cosines. So the side that I'm looking for is going to be A. I can call this side B and this side C. Those can be flip-flopped, by the way. It doesn't matter which one is B and which one is C. And then angle A is going to be the angle that's across from the side that I'm looking for. So that's going to be my 53.13 degree angle. So now I'm going to fit all these parts into my law of cosines. A squared equals 6 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 6 times 5 times the cosine of 53.13. And then I'll clean this up a little bit. I'll have 36 plus 25 minus 60. That's going to be 2 times 6 times 5. Cosine 53.13. So A squared equals 61 minus 60 cosine 53.13. And that's about where I grab my calculator and I type in 61 minus 60 cosine 53.13. And I have A squared is about equal to 25. It's 24.99991425. So I'll just round that to 25. So A is equal to the square root of 25, which is going to be 5. So the diagonal is 5 units long.